Dr. Nachi Sinha is on the line here talking about workplace bullying. It's the third out of 5 in our series. Good afternoon, respectable person.
Oh, that's your comeback after the sir fiasco from last time. Well done,
Yes,
Toby.
I nearly said sir again, but
Yeah,
I
always on
thought,
the
you see.
ball. How Toby is. Right.
Yes,
Good to be back, Toby. Good to be back. Thank you for having me.
yes, it's great to have you back. And today we're talking about how to support workplace bullying victims, of course. Why is that so important?
Right. I mean, the multiple impacts that it has on people who are going through the bullying themselves, right?
Yeah,
Sort of the mental, emotional, physical, and also, these impacts are not limited to the person themselves, but sort of extend to the entire family. So that's why it's important to do something about it. And the trick though is going to be to do what, right? How do we support those who are in the job and going through, sort of workplace bullying?
yeah. So, what are some of these ways that we can support these
Right.
victims of workplace bullying?
All right. So surprise, surprise. I mean, first thing you have to do is actually talk to the victim, right? I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes we don't do that. I mean, we just kind of ignore the basics because let's say if you see that your colleague or friend is being bullied, be there for them. Let them know that you're there to support them.
yeah,
Now, often the victim of the bully sort of chooses to stay silent, right, and suffer because they don't, want to create a scene in a sense in that workplace. I mean, so that you'll find they silently endure everything to not sort of strain things with their bosses. But this sort of suffering and accepting bullying, these behaviors are not really acceptable in today's society. Every
yeah,
employee, right, in the organization deserves to be treated with respect and courtesy, right? I mean, these basic stuff. So remind the victim that they are being bullied and they should take steps to end it. Now, talk to your friend about the effects of workplace bullying and how it can influence their mental health. Motivate them to stand up for themselves. I mean, that itself is a big deal.
yeah. And when you're talking to them, could that mean encouraging them to talk to the bully?
Right, right. So yes, encouraging them to talk to bully, I mean, is important because open communication works best to resolve matters, right? Encouraging the
Yeah,
victim to have a civil conversation with the bully and to ask them, why the person is mistreating them and how they can cultivate a cordial relationship. And that sort of conversation is encouraged. So
yeah,
when the victim sort of confronts the bully and asks them about mistreatment, it makes the bully cautious, right? The bully now realizes the person is not afraid to speak up for themselves, and thus he backs up a bit, or they back up a bit, and the victim might be a bit hesitant to talk to his bully, right? So
yeah.
that's where the motivation is important to show them that the important thing is to actually have that conversation and that there is a bright side that the bullying behavior will end, going by that
Yeah.
count.
Well, no wonder they'd be hesitant to talk to the bully after the way the bully would have treated them.
Yes, yes, that's a good point. I mean, yelling, cursing, or degrading behavior is quite a blow to confidence, right? I mean, and that's the intent of it to begin with. So no wonder. Now the person already feels worthless and inferior to the employees, and low self-esteem, and the impact on confidence impact the person's personal life, right, and the performance at work as well. So you know, you got to be there for the victim. That's important, and talk to them, remind them of their strengths and their ability, and try to console them that they don't deserve to be bullied at their workplace. Uh, you can even stand up against the bully for them. I mean, that's important too. For example, if a bully cracks a racist joke to target the victim, you shouldn't laugh. Instead, you should challenge the bully that it's not polite and respectful to ridicule someone. So, a lot of small, small things can add up and make a big difference.
Yeah, it's important for the bully to know that their behaviour isn't cool, isn't it?
Yes, you're right. I mean, and that's where the boundaries, establishing the boundaries bits become important, right? I mean, a bully continues to sort of irritate and disrespect the first person if he's not, if they're not told to stop. I mean, it's as bizarre as that. Now, unfortunately, when the bully is going on, the victim sort of endures the bullying or tries ignoring the bullying, it doesn't end the bullying behavior. So
Yeah.
you got to teach the victim to establish and communicate boundaries. They should make it clear to the bully and other employees that the behavior and things that are unacceptable for them. For example, you could teach your friend to be firm and to make boundaries. Furthermore, encourage your friend to sort of, share the consequences with the bully. For example, here's my boundary, and this is what I want you to know, and this is what will happen if you don't respect my boundaries. So communicating boundaries and letting people know the consequences helps prevent, disrespectful and hurtful behavior. And it also indicates in the future if you do end up going to legal court stuff, it kind of indicates that, you did take the basic steps and another person just won't listen to you.
Yeah. And what should you do to help them before they go and report it if they're going to
Right.
do that?
Right. So documenting everything becomes very crucial. So before reporting the incident to upper management or human resources, that's HR, of course, you got to make a record, document the bullying behavior. So ask your friend to document the incidents, right? And note down sort of details, just time, the incident, and the people who witnessed the bullying behavior. Having a record of things will make it easier for your victim, for the victim, in this case, your friend, to confront the bully and later on to report them to senior management.
Yeah. And should you gather other evidence too, like text messages and emails, etc.?
Yes. I mean, you got to save the evidence. So if your coworker is the constant target of the bully and gets threatened or mocked by them, I mean, you must advise your coworker to sort of play smart, put the emotions aside because it's a difficult time. Don't forget that. So every piece of advice you give, might be a bit difficult for your friend to follow because they're already so disturbed by the whole thing. So, but ask them to say a threatening or disrespectful message, or email or memo that they receive from the bully. Now, having a proper record of evidence will make it easier for the victim to report the bully. Moreover, these pieces of evidence also come in handy with, when if the HR team is approached, they become a part of their investigation. However, you got to make sure that you and your coworker are familiar with the company's policy towards bullying behavior and how to report such incidents, right? I mean, this goes back to one of the conversations we had in the earlier meetings we had today, where it's important to know what the company's values are and what the rules book state and what the bylaws and so on and so forth is.
That's an important point. How
Right.
strict are companies normally when it comes to their bullying policies? I mean, does it vary?
Right. So every organization, has different policies and procedures, right? So for dealing with bullying behavior. And some organizations have a zero tolerance policy for such behavior. And terminate the bully. I mean, is that like that? While some organizations are a bit lenient towards policies towards bullies. Before the coworker, that's why approaches the upper management, they should review the company's policy and reporting, conduct. So help your coworker by sort of researching and understanding the company's policy against bullying behavior. You got to find the relevant information, the code of conduct, the policies pertaining to reporting incidents. And once you have all this information, proceed with the reporting procedure.
Yeah. So could you actually report the bully on the victim's behalf, maybe?
Right. That's a great question. Great question. You see, the thing is that the bully often threatens the victim about their job, so they don't take any action. Right. That's the whole idea. That's where the threats, come from and what purposes. And if you observe that a coworker is being threatened by a bully, don't hesitate to report to the manager or upper authorities. I mean, you can report the incident anonymously or send an email to the supervisor and inform them about the misbehavior you witnessed. Now, attach the evidence or mention the names of other employees who were present at the time of the incident. So now, if the coworker wants to report the bully and talk to the HR team, be there to support them. You know, sort of acknowledge that they're taking a stand, and doing what's right, because it's a difficult thing to do. But yes, you're right. I mean, it doesn't always have to be the bully who makes the first approach.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry,
And
the
if
victim who makes the first approach. My apologies.
yes, and if even if the victim does report it themselves, are there ways we can help with the claim, like being a witness, maybe?
Right, right, right. Yes. Now, you got to be there for your coworker, right? If a coworker friend really needs your support to report the incident or testify on their behalf. So having witnesses and evidence only goes to help the HR team investigating the incident and to reach a final decision, right? I mean, and it helps the co-worker sort of end the bullying behavior. And don't forget that it also improves the general company atmosphere, because if they're bullying your friend, chances are they're bullying others too. So the
Yeah.
company also benefits by removing bullies and making the workplace environment, sort of safe and healthy for all the employees. So don't shy away from supporting your coworker and the victim of bully. I mean, and sort of testify against the bully, because if you don't speak up and let the organization know of the bullies, I mean, you yourself can be the next victim of the bullying, right? So help your friend and save yourself too. It's one of those things which are interlinked. And testifying, against the bully is a good step into that.
Yeah. And before they seek legal help, what can we do if they aren't helped by the supervisor or the HR team? How can we support them if that happens?
Right. So if your coworker, or the victim in this case, is not helped, I guess that's what you're asking, right? Not helped by the
Yes.
supervisor or HR team, then left with two options. The first option is to seek legal help, and as discussed some time ago before, that can be quite expensive. And the second option is to
Yeah.
quit the company and look for a new job. Now, what's important to understand in Toby is that the victim leaves the company to part ways with the bully in most cases. That's what ends up happening. And if a coworker decides to resign, do not force them to stay.
Yeah.
Often colleagues aren't supportive when a person shares their feelings about resigning and quitting the job, because they bring up unnecessary ideas of principle and so on. But you don't know what they're going through, and they don't want to fight that battle. I mean, they've already paid a massive price by staying at that place of work. A toxic work environment, Toby, is physically and mentally, very taxing for the person. So don't pressure, never pressure the person, or scare them about the financial difficulties they'll face after the job. I
Yeah.
mean, you should ask them to reconsider the decision and think properly before quitting, but don't force or add unnecessary fear.
Yeah. Well, we've talked today about the 10 ways that we can support workplace bullying victims. What would be your message to the listener to sum this all up?
Right. So, yes, we did talk about the 10 ways, Toby, and in a bullying behavior makes the person feel isolated and inferior to their
Yes.
coworkers, right? The least that you can do for them as a coworker or a friend is to extend your unreserved support. Now, being a victim of bullying crushes the confidence and shakes self esteem. Don't forget that. But supporting the victim, encouraging them to speak for themselves, and informing management can go a long ways in reviving their confidence. So it's always worth a try and it's worth doing.
Yes. Well, that is how you can support a workplace victim. All the information brought to you by Dr. Nachi Sinha, and he will return next week to talk about the damaging effects of workplace bullying on employees. So
Great.
many thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Toby. See you next week.